Hi, I'm Carson here, and I'm in first hour DECA. I'm here to introduce Mr. Patrick Allmond. He's been in the marketing business in Oklahoma City for 17 years, and other business owners come to him to learn how to be better marketers. He's a frequent television contributor, writes for Success magazine, and has his own weekly TV, web, and radio series. Please welcome Mr. Patrick Allmond.
Good morning. Bulldog, that's what I'm saying? That's the word I'm using today? It's like good morning, Bulldogs. Anyone hear me, Bulldogs? That's what I'm saying. Like you said, my name is Patrick Allmond, and I'm here for an hour to talk with you about that thing right there. Social media marketing. It's what I do all day long. You have this hour to interact with me, to ask questions. There are no stupid questions. To figure out what I do all day long. I would love to say it's all glamorous and fun, and we do amazing things, and I get to eat for free all over the place, but it's an actual marketing job, just like all the marketing jobs I'm sure your instructors have been teaching you. So I kind of have a list of topics I want to run through, and probably for this class, the first half will focus a lot on the social media marketing, and then your instructor wanted me to, there's some of you that are here that are from like an adulthood class. Can you raise your hands? Okay, so there are some issues on probably personal branding and public image you wanted me to cover also. But the first one the first topic we're going to talk about right here is social media marketing. Like I said, that's what we do all day long. To give you a little bit about me, I've run my, there's not a ton of slides, so it'll be mostly me. I've run my own business in Oklahoma City since 1998. Born and raised in Southern California. Even though I haven't been back for 20 some odd years, I still consider myself a California boy. Joined the Air Force, came out to the Midwest, worked at Hertz for a little while there on Northwest Expressway and MacArthur right there, and then started my own business in 1998. Traveled around, did a lot of technology stuff. That's ever since I was even before your age. It's just always been computers, computers, computers. Anybody here like that? Like everything they do is computers? And it's going to be like that for the rest of your lives because the world's run by computers, right? So that's just always been my thing since probably about 9 or 10. And then when social media started getting popular, this is the field I eventually got into, and that's what I do all day long. There are different businesses in Oklahoma City that come to us when they want to learn how to do that thing, that social media thing. And it's going to be a great skill to have. This is the future of our world. And the reason they come to us is because they're busy doing other things and they don't have the time nor the desire to do this. We've got one company that does bathroom and kitchen remodeling. They're hands-on in the dirt and the bricks all day long doing kitchen and bathroom remodeling. They don't want to tweet or Facebook or make videos. We do marketing for the House of Kawasaki motorcycle shop, which has been around since the 1970s down on 10th and Council. My buddy there, Doug, who runs that, is working all day long to sell motorcycles. Has no interest in doing this at all. So if you're considering pursuing this as a career, just get really good at it, and remember, it's not going to be terribly hard to find people that are going to want to hire you, or if you choose to work for an agency, which is what we are, if you choose to work for an agency, your agency will have a constant influx of clients. Because this concept of marketing is still relatively new. This has evolved in my lifetime, and that's been only the past 30 or 40 years. So you guys are coming in when this is getting extremely popular. I want to cover the basics of marketing first, which I'm sure your teachers have covered, but the reason I want to cover it again from my perspective is to show you how this works into social media marketing. And by the way, a lot of philosophies and techniques and things I'm going to give you are my personal viewpoints, which are probably going to be different from your teacher's viewpoints, which are going to be different from what you read in a book. Okay, we all have different aspects of marketing. I believe marketing, the whole point of marketing is for you guys to generate awareness about what you do and what your clients do. That's what marketing is. You have to make somebody aware of a product or a service or a business before they can even consider buying from you. And so that's what we do all day long on social media. That's what we use Twitter for. That's what we use Facebook for. That's what we use digital video for. I'm a huge, huge fan of digital video. Our job constantly in marketing is to make people aware of what we do and how it brings somebody pleasure or removes pain. That's what marketing is for. Just about everything you do in marketing is showing the public how a business brings pleasure. House of Kawasaki. Riding motorcycles is fun. Does anyone here a motorcycle rider? Anybody here own a motorcycle? Okay. Are you a Kawasaki fan or more of a?
Well, I have a Yamaha, but my dad's thinking of getting like Kawasaki.
Kawasaki. Is it fun?
Yeah, it is really fun.
What? Same with you?
I prefer Harley.
Prefer Harley? Okay. I've never owned a motorcycle in my life. I'm just going to keep it that way. Those things are very scary to me. But these guys over here enjoy riding motorcycles, and that's the bring pleasure part. The other part is removing pain. The remove pain side is for things like doctors or other people in the medical fields. Every now and then we'll have to market for a chiropractor. There's no real pleasure in going to a chiropractor. For those of you that have probably been to a chiropractor, know that. You go there when you can barely walk. And I've been in that situation before. I've been on a business trip to San Francisco where I got off the plane and I could barely hobble through the streets of San Francisco. And I was searching for the first chiropractor I could find to realign my back. So that's what the purpose of marketing is to bring pleasure or remove pain. Just about every single thing you do in marketing is going to do that. Now, back to the social media side. Social media was not invented for advertising. That's the amazing part about this. When you're on Facebook and you see the ads, and you're on Twitter, and you're on YouTube, and you're on all these social media sites, and you see these ads, you have to remember these platforms were not invented for advertising. These platforms were invented as some tech guys sitting around playing with some kind of hobbyist website, and they came up with it and accidentally got popular. That's exactly how Facebook got popular. That's exactly how Twitter got popular. Those are the two I spend most of my time on. These sites were not meant for advertising. But what happened is as these sites gained more and more people on them, they had to make money to stay alive and stay in business. And so what they found is ways to inject advertising inside of our everyday lives. And now you cannot get on any social media site without seeing advertising. It pops up in your YouTube videos. It pops up on the side in the middle of your Facebook stream. That's people like me doing that to you. So if you hate that advertising, I'm sorry about that. I get paid for it. But that's how the social media world and the advertising world has meshed, is these social media sites need to make money to stay alive, and these social media sites have a lot of people, and so people who work in marketing like to work on platforms that have a lot of eyeballs. And does anybody have any idea roughly how many people are on Facebook? Anyone want to take a guess? Nobody? Down here, not Mr. Harley, that's Mr. Harley back there. 7 million people on Facebook? Okay, any other guesses? Come on, even teachers can guess too. Yes?
3 million?
3 million, 7 million, 3 million? Okay, we went down a little bit.
I was going to say 3 million.
How many?
I was going to say 3 million too.
3 million? Why don't we say 4 million for you?
I was going to say 2 actually.
2 million? Okay, so we have 2, 3, 7 here. 5 million. What is it with all the prime numbers?
100 million.
100 million, okay. You got a big number there, yeah?
26 billion.
26 billion, okay, he went a little bit the other way. So now we're ranging here from 3 million to 26 billion. It's roughly like somewhere between, $1 billion and $1.25 billion. Okay? Well, the billion people were a lot closer than you were, dude. You were like way over here in 26 billion. But there are that's the number of users registered on there. The number of active users is like the several hundred million. So there are hundreds of millions of people active on Facebook every single day. And for those of you that want to go into a career of marketing, that's gold for you right there. Your job as an advertiser is to put messages in front of eyeballs. And Facebook has a lot of eyeballs. And they are on there all the time, especially on the mobile side. Does anyone here, I'm not even going to ask if anyone here is on Facebook. That's like a ridiculous question. Does anyone here probably access Facebook more on their mobile phone than on an actual computer? No. Some of you? Yeah. For me, it's kind of 50-50. I picked up a phone recently that has a nice big screen, and so Facebook is almost just as good as that as it is on my desktop. But as marketing students, you want to go places where there are eyeballs, and social media is that place for you. The type of marketing that you've probably learned so far is the type where you put up probably ads to get people to do something. You know, buy my chiropractic service, buy my motorcycle, things like that. I'm going to tell you that what we do all day long when it comes to social media marketing is we educate people. And I have learned that the way I do marketing is that education is the best kind of marketing there is. We educate people about motorcycles. Why is Kawasaki the best? Why is Kawasaki the safest? Why you want to go to some place that's been here for 30 or 40 years? So if you're in the marketing world, you might consider that route of, when you go on the social media side, to work more on the education side, educating people about a product or service. Because you may not know it, but when you have repeated exposures to something and you're told about how cool it is, and about how fun it is, and about how safe it is, you're going to be more inclined to subconsciously go buy that product than you are that if someone's shoving it down your throat and in your face about buy, 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 buy. Does anyone here besides me just in general hate advertising? Yeah, okay, we hate it. Yet you're all in here as marketing students. What's up with that? But we hate someone telling us to buy something, but we still love to buy it. How does it go? We hate to be sold to, but we love to buy, is what the phrase I think I've heard in marketing before. We hate to be sold to, but we love to buy. So I'd rather McDonald's not shove a cheeseburger down my throat, but if I'm hungry, since I've been exposed to cheeseburgers 10 times all day long from McDonald's, I'd rather make the choice to buy McDonald's. So a lot of what we do in social media marketing is education-based advertising. We teach people every single day why what we have is the best product and why they should consider using us over our competition. Questions at all? Has anyone here? Yeah.
Do you create the advertisement, or do you like take what the company wants and then you put it on like Facebook or YouTube or anything?
Got it. Yes, if we create the advertising, or do we take what the company has and do we just put it on the internet or on social media? A little bit of both. Primarily the first one, because advertising on the internet tends to be a little bit different than like a newspaper ad or a magazine ad. So I can't, the remodeling company we work for, they already had some advertising done, they already had some logo work done. The message of what we want people to do doesn't work the same in a magazine as it does in a YouTube video, if that makes sense. So a lot of times what we have to do is we have to start what I call the digital marketing plan for them. This is how we market on the internet. A big part of what we do in marketing at the end of our messages is what's called a call to action. Have you guys heard that before, a CTA, a call to action? Yeah, at the end of every marketing message, there should be something telling the consumer what you want them to do next. And so on the internet, that's going to be a lot different than in a magazine ad. In a magazine ad, it's call this phone number so someone can come in and remodel your bathroom. On YouTube, it might be watch the next video, go visit our blog, go follow us on Facebook, go follow us on Twitter. So the messages and the call to action are different on the internet oftentimes than they are in the real world. We just, for the remodeling company, we just did a whole series of videos, had cameras and lights like this set up. We probably came in one day and knocked out like 7 videos. And the goal at the end of every single video was watch the next video. We want them to watch all 7 videos. Hopefully by the end of the 7 videos, they will be convinced that we are the best company in the world, and they'll come to the remodeling company thousands of dollars, and they'll be happy with the video they made. Hasn't happened yet, but it takes time. So does that sense? What?
Do you provide a flat fee service?
We provide a really? You did that to me. A flat fee monthly retainer service. Okay. What she asked was, I'm going to repeat these questions so who's ever got the sound, I think it's you over here, and so the people who watch this later can repeat it, can hear it. She asked, do we provide a flat fee service? And the answer is, we provide a monthly retainer service where someone pays us every single month. We usually meet with them for an hour or 2 in person and a lot of emails. And then we just basically work on their marketing the rest of the month. By the way, what this allows us to do, because we don't always have to meet in person. We use Skype a lot, which killed us yesterday because Skype was down all day long. It allows us to have a lot of, because we work in the digital space, we can have a lot of remote clients. And so Thursday I picked up a client in Fort Myers, Florida, and Friday I picked up a client in Dallas. Another one of the reasons I like social media marketing, because everything we do online is online anyways. If the client's okay with not seeing us in person, I can have clients all over the place. And I've had a client before as far away as Ireland. I was really hoping to keep that one long term so I could like travel there on a business trip. It never happened. But that's another benefit of getting in the world of social media marketing, is if your client is comfortable with technology, they don't actually have to be in the same state as you. So we've got people in California, Florida, Texas, a lot of Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma City, we'll meet with them in person. But we have clients that kind of come and go all over the country. And we do what she says, we do a flat fee kind of monthly retainer service, but we also do something else called one-off services. Have you guys taught them what one-off services are? Anyone ever heard that phrase before, a one-off service? A one-off service is a service that you do one time for a client. For example, my wife is a graphic designer, and sometimes we have to do a website design. I know there's a website instructor in here someplace. Where was she? There she is, right there. If we come in and we do monthly services, monthly social media services for a company, they may also contract us to do a website, which is a one-off project, which means we're going to work on it for probably 1 or 2 months. It's going to be done, and then we're not going to work on that website anymore. Does that make sense? We get paid monthly to work on their marketing, but they may have us design something one time. The video work was a one-off work. We came in for one day, we made hours of footage, we created 7 videos out of it, and we're going to use those 7 videos over and over and over, but that recording session was a one-off session. So in the world of social media marketing, you're going to have monthly retainer services like we have, and then you're going to have one-off kind of pieces. Has anyone here actually dabbled in the world? Has anyone ever actually do any social media marketing? At all? No one's happened here? Who asked you, and how did that work out?
Sophomore asked me to like post pictures of shirts that he sells.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he sells them anymore.
You said it was a sophomore that asked you to do that?
Well, it was a junior. He's a junior now.
He's a junior now. It's okay. I'm not going to get him in trouble. I don't care what grade he's in. But so you don't know if he sold any?
No.
So what did you do when you did the social media work for him?
He's posted a picture of his shirts.
Okay. Did he have like a fan page?
He had a website.
He had a website. Okay. And did he build it, or did you build it, or did you?
He built it.
He built it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Hopefully he paid you. Probably at lunch, something like that.
Yeah.
Is anyone else here doing social media work for people? What did you do?
I promoted some of my friends' vines.
Vines?
Yeah.
Were they like the silly, ridiculous vines?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get why that is so fascinating to people. Ridiculous vines. I don't get that. And fortunately, we've never had a client who ever asked us to make vines. And I might turn that client down. I would come find you and have you do it. But were they just like, really just like silly people doing silly things?
They were, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've never, there are some marketing platforms I don't understand. I don't understand why they're appealing, and Vine is one of them. Anyone here a big Vine fan? Yeah, okay. I just don't get the feeling of watching something for 7 seconds and it being gone. I mean, I have a short attention span, but it's a little bit longer than 7 seconds, so. Okay, so anybody else besides the two over here do any kind of social media marketing for anybody? No? I'm surprised because oftentimes when we get called in to work on something, we take it over from a high school student who knows social media better than the business owner. So I'm going to tell you that if you know somebody who has a business, one of the things you might consider doing is looking them up on social media and seeing how active they are. And if they're not very active, maybe you can dip your toe in that water and offer them some services. Because there are plenty of high school students doing social media marketing for businesses. Some of them are okay. A lot of them haven't taken marketing classes. They don't know the basic concepts of marketing, so kudos to you for at least being in a marketing class and knowing just some of the basics that you need in marketing. So if you don't know anyone with a business and they haven't, go check out their social media sites and you might be able to make some extra money there.
So, I don't know how much research you do for target marketing, the demographics for these organizations
Right.
that you are representing.
Right.
But a lot of them would say that they don't support Facebook just because their age has decided that's for their parents.
Right.
So, do you determine which medium would be the best?
Yes.
Or do they tell you what they want?
I have my favorites, and they tell me what they want, and we have a conversation about it, and then we'll come to some kind of middle ground. My favorites right now are video on any platform, YouTube, Facebook, just because the sheer volume of people that are on there. And when you're a business, you want your message in front of as many people as possible. And I'm a big Twitter user. As a matter of fact, if you guys have a chance to go out in front of the school, which I don't think you have, my license plate is Twitter. So I'm the only person in Oklahoma, my license plate is actually Twitter. She was asking about research and which sites to use. I have another determination about which sites I like to use. We covered definitions, we covered that, we'll cover tactics here shortly. I also like to use websites where I have more information about the consumer, which allows me to do more targeted marketing, which is what she brought up. Social media is interesting because unlike other forms of advertising, on social media, you can't really determine what somebody wants. You have to guess. So, one of the kind of forms of advertising we support is Google advertising. Anyone here ever heard of Google? Yeah, it's a tiny little site. When you go into Google and you search for something, you say, I want to buy a motorcycle. Where do I buy a motorcycle? That's a desire you have that you're trying to solve inside of a search engine, okay? And if the company's done their work, we'll come back with a list of Oklahoma City motorcycle sites. So you have a wish or a desire, and Google returns businesses that have optimized for that. You can't do that on social media because very rarely do people go on Facebook and say, I want to buy a motorcycle. On Facebook and on Twitter and on Vine, we're all just hanging out. We're all just hanging out looking at baby pictures, watching vines, watching cats. And so on social media, you have to do a different kind of research. And the research you have to do is demographic research and psychographic research. Have you guys learned what psychographic? Have they,
We've just done demographics in my
Okay.
class. We haven't gotten to psychographics.
Okay. The demographic stuff is the typical stuff you see. You know, age, sex, marital status, different preferences. All that stuff you give up to Facebook, you're doing that so people like me can advertise to you. If you ever wonder why Facebook asks you so many questions in your profile, it's because the advertisers on the other end are using it to market to you. So when we're doing like a Facebook campaign, we have to kind of figure out, in general, what's called the avatar of the person and what kind of person are we looking for. If I want to sell a motorcycle, how old is the person I want to sell a motorcycle to? What kind of income do they have? What kind of education do they have? So I kind of make this picture of the ideal buyer, and then I can advertise to that. Something else we can do which is pretty cool on social media, is we can advertise to you based on past websites you visited. Has anyone ever been to a website, and then you go to a different website, or you go on a social media site, all of a sudden there's ads for that first site on your social media timeline, or you're over at ESPN looking at sports scores and there's ads for the shoe company that you just visited 5 minutes ago on Amazon? Yeah, that's called retargeting, and that's something else that we do. Retargeting or remarketing is what Google calls it. And it's a very effective form of advertising because I already know that you want that thing. The example I like to use, and I promise it's not sexist at all, is women's shoes. If you're over on Amazon shopping for women's shoes, and you find a great pair of red, shiny, high-heel shoes you want to buy, but you get distracted, you got to go do homework, you got to check a sports score, or your mom or dad asked you to do something, you might forget that you were looking at those, but I know you want them because you were browsing them on Amazon. So if I'm Amazon, I put what's called a little retargeting cookie on your computer, and so I can follow you around the internet from anywhere from 30 to 90 days, depending on how long the cookie lasts, and I can show that ad to you specifically for that product. Amazon is great at this. We do it for the motorcycle shop, and we do it for the home remodeling company. Oh, we work with a company also that makes 3D printers. These cool little printers that actually print physical objects from like liquid plastic. We do it for them also. They get thousands of website visitors a month, and they have different models of printers, and depending on which model of printer they buy, I put a retargeting cookie on their computer, and so wherever they are all over the internet for the next 30 days, I'm showing them ads about 3D printers. That's the kind of advertising I really like because it's relatively cheap, and I know that that person already has an interest. And that's what we're trying to do in social media marketing, is figure out who has what interest and get them back to the website to buy something. 5 seconds. I can't make someone not skip an ad. I wish I could. Oh, that would be great. Oh, that would be great to force advertising down your throat. I would do that all day long. But she was asking, how do I get someone to force them to watch the video or watch the ad, and I can't. So your goal, and Geico does a very good job of this, by the way, check them out, is to basically catch their attention in those first few seconds and make them want to watch the remaining 25 seconds, if that makes sense. Geico does this thing, is doing this really weird thing now with their commercials, where they do something really silly in the first 5 seconds, and the people just like freeze, but the camera hasn't frozen, so they're like, you can like see they're shaking from standing there, and they're like, you don't have to pause, you don't have to skip our commercial because it's already over with. But they'll leave someone standing there for like 25 minutes, and the person like some of the one I was watching this morning, someone was vacuuming, like the vacuum took off, but the people there themselves are like frozen. He's asking, do we ever sponsor YouTube content creators?
Yeah.
We haven't yet. What we have done though with the 3D printer guy, with the 3D printer company, is we gave somebody a 3D printer in exchange for them doing a long video review about the printer. So, you know, the printer was probably $1,000, but for us, it's worth $1,000 to have a third party do a review about that printer. And they did a review about, they opened up the box, they put it all together, they talked about the good points and the bad points, and now they get to keep the printer, and we get to use their third party video. Line lady up here.
Do you do any cooperative advertising where you involve more than one advertiser or corporation at a time?
Yes, we do. Oh, great question. Do we do any cooperative advertising where we involve more than one company at a time? The videos we did for the home remodeling company, we had them schedule a lineup of vendors for the home remodeling company, because technically the home remodeling company doesn't sell anything themselves. They sell the service, but they don't make tile, they don't make brick, they don't make drywall. And so we lined up their vendors for the day, and each vendor came in. Inside the showroom of the remodeling company, we had the vendor talk about their product, and the target was the customer of the remodeling company. So in that case, the remodeling company didn't even have to have like their own speakers. They just had to provide the room. And we had the marketing company's logo tag in the lower right-hand corner, and we had the vendor say, today I'm at yada yada in Oklahoma City, and I'm going to talk about my tile product right here. Does that answer your question right there? So that's a very good idea, yes.
Well, there's something I have to say. One of them would be the Vine thing.
Yep.
You said how Vine wasn't, you know, like why'd you watch somebody for like 6 seconds,
Right.
that sort of thing. Well, if they can like, to me, in like my view, is that like if they can entertain you for 6 seconds and they have like their Instagram and their YouTube up there and their link, I'm gonna click on their Instagram or their YouTube so I can watch them longer if they're funny enough to entertain me for
Right.
6 seconds.
And that's a very good point. And if you become really good at Vine, that's going to be a very great skill to sell.
And then the other thing I was going to ask is if you're on Instagram.
Am I personally?
Well, like, do you market on Instagram?
Yes, we do. Whenever the motorcycle company, House of Kawasaki down on 10th and Council has like motorcycle events there, I'll primarily do it on Instagram, and then I'll push it to their fan page. But we'll start. And on my phone, I have Instagram, and then I will do personally, I'll do Instagram to Facebook and to Twitter is what I'll do. So yeah, for a couple of our clients, we do Instagram. Just because I work in the world of advertising and marketing, don't you think that I eat this stuff up and I love it when it happens to me. I just like doing it to other people. The ad blocker on Google Chrome affect our revenue? It hasn't yet. And to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure I would know if it would, because if for some reason our website visitors go down or something like that, I'm not sure I could exactly attribute it to that. But for every client, we have multiple forms of marketing going. So if that was to affect us, it would be one of like a 5-piece, a five-leg stool, if that makes sense. And here.
Do you get paid like a certain amount just up front to do marketing, or does it matter like their success that comes with
Oh, goodness gracious. These people are asking really smart questions. Her question was, do I get paid a fixed fee, or do I get what's called performance-based pay? In other words, if they do something better, I get paid more. In my company so far, we've only done the flat fee stuff, where someone pays us a fixed monthly retainer. I wouldn't be opposed to that as long as I could see that a particular product or service had a high chance of success. I'd be willing to do partial fixed fee and then partial performance-based partial performance based. And another probably side answer to your question is if I start doing really well for a client, I'd probably go back and negotiate my fee again also, because if they're paying me X amount per month and I'm making them X times 50, they're getting a very high value for what I'm charging them, so I think I deserve a little bit more. But I have not done that yet, but there are plenty of people that do that. And that's one possible business model, is to, if somebody sells something for $500, you charge them, 10% of every sale that you sell, and then your responsibility becomes making sure you can track which sales came from your advertising versus which sales came from like random walk-in traffic or a magazine ad or things like that. Another big part of our job, which I can't get into right now, is reporting and tracking information. If people are selling stuff, how are they clicking through from my ads, my videos, my vines over to a particular company? A lot of what we do with that is we'll set up different websites depending on which way they're coming in. So if I'm doing a lot of Vine work, I may set up a separate website that really routes them to the main website, but I can track all the Vine users coming in. And in some cases, we'll actually set up separate phone numbers, and I can, even though it all rings the main business number, I can track which phone number is ringing most, and I know that that's attributed to a certain kind of advertising. And that's how I would know that I deserve more, because I'm generating like more phone calls. We have a company that does cement work, and we have a different website on their Facebook page than we have on their website than is their actual business number. So I know all the phone calls coming in through Facebook versus all the phone calls coming in from their website, and I can give them a report every month saying, I know that what I'm doing is working. At the same time, the flip side of that is they can say, look, you didn't do anything this month. I'm like, I promise I did, just no phone calls happened. So, did that answer your question? Yes.
Do you retain any rights within a contract with what you consider a vendor?
Do I retain any rights within a contract? I haven't yet. No, as far as I'm concerned, all the graphic design work, all the video work we do, all that stuff, I give it all to them, and it's theirs. Now, they don't ever use it. Like the remodeling company, I have all their raw footage on my SD card, it's on my hard drives. They're never going to ask for it, but I consider it theirs. Mainly because I have no use for that whatsoever. If it was some more general stuff that had really high value, I might consider that. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility. But right now, we just haven't done that yet. We have, in the graphic, I take that back. In the graphic design side, anyone here want to be like a graphic designer, out of curiosity? Photoshop?
I have a question.
Okay, let me continue just a second. On the graphic design side, we'll retain rights to the original graphic design file, not the output. So if my wife designs a logo for somebody in Adobe Illustrator, we retain the rights to the .ai file, for those of you that know what Adobe Illustrator is. However, we will give them like the JPEG or the PNG. And if they ask us for the rights to the .ai file, we'll charge them more money for it. But number one, people have never asked for it because we've had long-term clients. And number two, that's very standard practice in the graphic design world, is to, you retain the rights to the original source graphic file, however, you will give them like all the offshoot products as a result. Here in the back, okay. The class I went to talk to at Edmond Santa Fe was young professional women, and their instructor wasn't 100% sure the things they were doing on social media were probably appropriate for their future. So I want to talk about that for a little bit. You need to realize that for those of you that are on social media right now, your accounts, your Twitters, your YouTubes, your Vine accounts, your Facebooks, your whatever, that is something that is going to be considered part of your resume in the future. So, if you're out there tweeting silly things, if you're out there tweeting inappropriate pictures, which please don't ever do that. If you are out there cursing at each other. If you are on Twitter just generally causing mischief, realize that people in the future, when you go looking for a job, or you're looking for a job right now, they're going to use that to determine whether or not to hire you. And I know I've lost business before for things I've said online. I know I've lost clients. I've had people come to me and say, oh, I didn't hire you because of your perspective and your view of something online. Fortunately, that was a long time ago, but that will happen to you. So I would encourage you now to basically go back to your social media accounts, start maybe cleaning up the old stuff, but also realize that when something's on the internet, it lasts forever, so it will never, ever go away. There are tweets of mine that you can find from when I first got onto Twitter years and years ago, when I would say silly, ridiculous, stupid things. Also, if you are marketing students, you might start talking a lot about marketing on your social media accounts, for those of you that are the marketing students. But primarily the personal branding is try to put forth the most professional face you can right now, because that information is being used for hiring purposes. Has anyone here picked up a high school job and they asked to see your social media accounts, or they asked for your login? Has that ever happened to anyone here yet? That used to be the case a while back, several years ago, and I did a news story for Fox 25 on that. Is it used to be okay for employers to say, when you went to get hired, I want your Facebook login. And you're kind of in that situation, well, I really want the job, but I don't want to give up that information, so so employers were logging in there. Fortunately, several years ago, Oklahoma passed a law that's no longer legal. But imagine that. Would any of you here be a little bit embarrassed if your employer saw something you put on social media? Anyone here at all? Or if you're going to be embarrassed, you're not going to raise your hand, right? So, I don't want to out anybody. You?
I mean, honestly, yeah.
You probably would?
We've all been like young and immature.
What's this we all stuff? You're still young.
I mean, I know, but I mean, like,
She's saying, like, I was in elementary school once. I was wildly crazy. Yes. Yeah, well, just realize that make sure you be okay with that, like if your grandmother saw it. Make sure you be okay with that if your parents or your teachers saw it. And definitely be okay with that if your employer saw it. There are plenty of things I've said online about my political views, things like that, where, my mom hasn't always agreed with me. Fortunately, she doesn't pay me to work, so it's okay, it's just mom. Just be really careful about that, because that stuff will follow you forward. Also, please be very careful about sharing too much personal information. It would not be hard for me to take a sample of any of you in this room and figure out where you live, what your cell phone number is, and the route you constantly go to, the Starbucks you go to, what you do before school, what you do after school. Now this just gets over into personal safety. If you're constantly sharing that information online, people could possibly use it to do nefarious things to you, so be very careful about that. And this actually came up recently. I had to do a story on it because for some reason now it's really popular in elementary school for parents to take pictures of like their kindergartner, like their first day of school, and say, this is their teacher, this is the school they're at, and share that on Facebook. And that's really kind of scary to me. Thank goodness my mom didn't do that when I was young. My mom said, here's elementary school, go, get. I'm done with you, get going. No, his question was, can somebody who browses your profile on Facebook judge you for your political views or for your religious views? We would like to say that legally, no, they can't. But if I'm going to hire you for something and I go look at your Facebook profile, I can't unthink what I've seen. If for some reason I'm very hardcore pro-Christian and I see that you're an atheist or you're a Wiccan or whatever, I would like to say, oh, I can't take that into consideration, but it's too late. To me, it involves very much whenever you ever hear a judge tell a jury, disregard that information. The jury's like, no, I kind of can't. I'm not a computer. So same thing when it comes to that. Can they do that? Legally, no. They can't put down, no, I didn't hire you because you perform Wicca events or you are an atheist. But when someone says, oh, I'm sorry, you're not the right fit for the job, you're going to realize they looked at everything. And there was something in there, and you will never know, you may never know why they chose to not pick you. Yes?
So whenever you're interviewing for a job, you said they aren't allowed to ask your login, but they allowed to like check your page and stuff.
If your page is public, you can't really, they're not even going to ask you. So your question was, are they allowed to, or are they looking at your Facebook page? If you make it public, then they can look at it, and they probably are looking at it without even asking you. And they probably know before you ever sit down in front of them some information about you. Our introducer left What was her name? Who introduced me?
Carson.
Carson. One of the first things I asked Carson when she said she introduced me, I said, did you research me online? And she said yes, which is a very smart thing for her to do. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully she didn't go back too far because there are some things I wouldn't want her saying in my introduction. So. But just look at your Facebook settings and see if your profile is set to public. If it is, yes, they can see it. But even if not, I don't trust any privacy setting on any social media site whatsoever. That's a blanket rule of mine. So even if yours is set to private, and I want to hire you for a job, or yours might be set private and show it to friends and show it to friends of friends, if I'm friends with her, I might be able to see your stuff even though I can't see your stuff directly. And yes, people are looking at that information. We would love to think that they can't, but somebody who works in HR, their job is to hire the most qualified people for a particular position. That's probably my time to shut up. And if they're really smart, they're just going to research every possible piece of information. Your Twitter account, your Instagram account, your Vine account. You'll probably just Google your name in general. Maybe Google your name in association with Edmond Bulldogs. Just all that information. They're going to come up with a picture of you. They're going to determine whether or not to hire you. And they'll probably have basically made most of their decision before you ever step inside. That plus your resume have made most of their decision before you ever step inside their office.